योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोतं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि। आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम्।
Hope you've been finding the episode so far useful. In today's episode, we will be seeing Marichyasana 3. Marichi was the grandfather of Lord Surya, the sun god, as well as the father of Dronacharya, the guru of both the Pandavas as well as the Kauravas. He was therefore an important character in the Mahabharata. In Marichyasana 3, the abdomen goes through profuse compression. Because of this, the abdominal organs are revitalized and rejuvenated. The appendicular joints are helped as well. I would like to now bring your attention to the difference between advanced as well as beginner level poses. There is a general misnomer that there are some poses which fall into the category of advanced poses and some poses that are classified as beginner poses. Up until the episodes until now, we have done poses that are all basic and easily doable by all viewers and practitioners. But that is not the classification of basic poses. Usually, in a beginner pose, a practitioner has time to make adjustments and raise awareness of themselves. An asana becomes an asana only when it touches every nook and corner of the body through intelligent action, where awareness is raised and a practitioner is very conscious of the participation of every corner of the body in totality. It is a culmination. The entire body participates in an asana. Here, in the beginning stages, we give instructions that are relatively gross, such as the hands or the legs, where the practitioner can see these areas, make adjustments. But later on, their attention is invited to more subtle areas. How does the diaphragm function? What is the position of the kidney? What is the internal viscera of the abdomen? When this happens, a practitioner starts looking within. For example, when we talk about an instruction, say push the thighs back, the practitioner would then consider the thigh and push the thigh back. But then if we say by pushing the thigh back, the anterior spine is raised and the diaphragm is stretched, then the attention or that instruction causes the practitioner to start looking within. He starts looking at the anterior spine, the position of the diaphragm, and therefore the mind goes through an internalization. There is a state of meditation where the practitioner is able to look within themselves and then get absorbed into the pose. Therefore, asana initiates dhyana as well. In this manner, the more subtle the practice becomes, the more internalized the practice is. And that is an advanced state. It is really not about how complicated the pose is, rather it's about how internalized and how penetrative the state is. Also, when it comes to the misnomer that advanced asana means very complicated contortions, we must understand that yoga as a subject is for one and all. Everybody must be in a position to practice it. So if we only consider very complicated or contorted poses where the body goes through a contortion, then these poses may not be practicable by everybody, and even for those who practice, they will not be in a position to wait long enough to make subtle and penetrative corrections. Hence, we must always practice foundational poses. Every single one of the poses mentioned in these 26 episodes are all poses that fall into this category of everyday practice, and hence we must maintain a practice of all foundational poses at all times. This doesn't go to say that any pose is important or unimportant. All are important, but beginner level or basic poses where one can stay long enough to correct must not be forgotten. Now, we will see Marichyasana in the upcoming segment. We will now show you how to do Marichyasana 3. We start in Dandasana, feet and thighs together, shins together, calves pressed down to the ground, thighs pressed down to the ground, from which the abdomen, particularly in Marichyasana, because the abdomen will go through a compression, you have to make sure it has a tall upward release. So you have to press the thighs down, keep the groin soft, using the spinal strength, raise the spine up, chest wide, away from the sternum, the breast has to open away from the sternum, collarbones wide, back ribs have to come hooking in and the chest raises up. From here, one leg is folded for Marichyasana. Here, the Dandasana leg, the thigh should nicely rotate inwards because the rotation of the thigh greatly helps the spine in rotating. The leg that is folded has to have the knee parallel or facing the ceiling. The foot that is placed has to be placed in line with the buttock. The foot is not placed completely against the inner thigh. The foot is placed in line with the buttock. Now, holding the foot firm. So, as you see, the hands are interlocked. Holding the foot firm, the practitioner has to pull the back ribs in. And as you see, you have the frontal thigh that is absolutely sandwiched with the abdomen, gripping the shin towards the back ribs and back ribs towards the shin, as if both the extremities come close to each other. The practitioner has to raise the chest up until the abdomen's length traverses upward the thigh. That is, if you sink, the abdomen is going to drop down against the thigh. You have to raise the abdomen against the skin of the thigh. With that action, keeping the proximity between the thigh and the abdomen, the practitioner has to release the hand on the side of the straight leg. Here it is the left hand. The practitioner has to release the left hand and lock initially at the elbow. The other hand is kept behind by the side of the hip. Now, locking at the elbow, you have to make sure you are pressing the elbow against the knee. The knee has to resist the press. So here there is that mini tug of war kind of an action where the elbow pushes the knee and really tries to rotate the abdomen into free space forward like this. The abdomen has to rotate. Once the abdomen rotates, you have to pause, pull the back ribs in, raise the chest up, once again sharply turn the waistline as well as the chest. So initially we said abdomen, now abdomen, waistline, chest fully has to rotate. Now we started at the elbow and then you see the progression towards the upper arm. As you rotate, you really have to come in with the armpit. It is the armpit side of the chest that remains locked with the outer knee of the bent side. The palm remains a little away, armpit, elbow, upper arm presses against the thigh, and you really have to use that resistance to wind the chest forward, raise the sternum up. As you can see in this position, maintaining the abdomen's position, the spine goes through a complete rotation. This rotation is particularly pertinent for Marichyasana 3. This is the intermediary position. In the final position, the hands will be interlocked behind, which I will now show you. We will now show you how to do Marichyasana 3. For Marichyasana, like any sitting pose or a forward bend, even in this twist, we start with Dandasana. Feet and toes together, thighs rolling in, shins pressed down, calf muscles spreaded and placed, thigh towards the ground, heel extended, heel bone extending, Foot mound, that is big toe mount, also extending, toes relaxed. In this position, roll the shoulders back, pull the back ribs in, raise the abdomen. It is particularly important that in Marutyasana, where the abdomen undergoes a compression, the abdomen shouldn't further already compress towards the groin. So pressing the thigh, create a separation from the abdomen. For the abdomen, roll the shoulders back. In this position, bend one leg for Marutyasana. In this bent leg, the knee will be facing the ceiling and the heel will be in line with the buttock. In this position, sharply drawing the shin in, pull the back ribs in and raise the chest up. It should be as if the shin is coming towards the back rib and the back rib is coming towards the shin, so that there is a clear-cut joining between the frontal face of the thigh and the abdomen. Being in this position, extend the abdomen upward against the thigh, chest up. Here, without distancing too much, you will first place the elbow against the knee. In this position, you have to really wind and get the abdomen out. You have to get the abdomen out and churn the waistline. While churning and the waistline and the abdomen, the chest will remain lifted. From there, you progress to the second position, where you place the upper arm against the outer knee. Here there has to be a tug of war kind of an action, where pushing the knee with your hand, you rotate the abdomen. The knee resisting, you should further rotate the abdomen and chest. So you have to use the hands and knees to create that churning movement, rotation of the spine. From here, I will move to the final pose, where the armpit comes against the outer knee and the hands are intertwined behind. The straight leg will continue to be in a Dandasana with the thigh rolling inward, because that assists the rotation of the thigh. In Marutyasana 3, the abdomen may be stuck, preventing the rotation of the spine. We will now show you how to release the abdomen such that the rotation of the spine is complete. Here, a practitioner starts with bending their leg, fixing the arm for Marutyasana. While the arm is fixed in Marutyasana, initially the arm is fixed in such a way that the abdomen does not separate from the thigh. So here a practitioner has to push the elbow against the knee, keep the knee stable, and in that process rotate the abdomen. Though the rotation happens, and you can see that compared to before, the practitioner is really trying to rotate, a portion of the abdomen still remains stuck within the thigh, therefore preventing full progression of the rotation. Here you will have to tilt backwards. Tilting backwards, you have to completely free the abdomen into a rotation. So you know that the entire face of the abdomen goes through a squeeze and a twist. Freeing the abdomen, you will have to quickly come forward, as in lift the spine and fix the arm. So that tilt that you took helps in freeing the abdomen. With that done, you can still see that there is one portion of the abdomen that remains hidden within the thigh. Here, the practitioner takes the free hand, inserts it within the abdomen and draws the abdomen from left to right. The entire abdomen has to be pulled from left to right, freeing the abdominal muscle. When that happens, you see that the entire abdomen is pulled free, upon which the spine can then freely rotate. This is an important action to make sure that the abdomen is not obstructive to the pose. Now we will see some situations in which props are used in Marutyasan. Props have versatile applications and should be purposefully used depending on the needs of the practitioner. Here this practitioner is right now in Marutyasan, the independent pose. As you can see, there is a slight fall of the spine. The spine tilts away from the pose, as in it tilts backward. There should be a union between the abdomen and the thigh, in the sense there is a close proximity between the viscera of the abdomen and the frontal thigh upon which the spine rotates. But sometimes, even in larger practitioners, they tend to fall away. To prevent that, you can see a block there. The practitioner places the hand on the block, presses the block. This brings the spine closer to the thigh, creating that very tight unit upon which, again using the block, the spine can be well lifted with the back ribs pulled in. This is one scenario. As you saw previously, the practitioner, when they release the hand to entwine the hand behind, is not able to hold the hand to the wrist. In this situation, we can introduce a rope given to both hands, upon which the hands slowly crawl towards each other. Every time the hand goes towards each other, the back ribs must be pulled in, the chest should be raised up, and the turn should be amplified. The more the turn is constantly amplified and the hands go towards each other, then there is a point at which the practitioner, upon developing the practice over many months and years, is able to reach the hand to hold the wrist, maintaining a full, vibrant spinal rotation. We now saw how, using this rope, a practitioner may constantly advance towards progressing in Marutyasan 3. Here I'd like to add one pertinent point. One of the main principles of Iyengar Yoga is sequencing. It is not about doing one single asana at a time, rather seeing how, using various asanas, progressing from asana to asana, chaining a sequence of asanas, delivers various qualities to unfold various parts of the body in a way that it helps you progress in a practice. For example, this student is now doing Marutyasan, and in Marutyasan there is a small distance between the palms, between the hands and the rope. If there was a sequence given where the twist, the sides of the body, the release of the abdomen was constantly built from asana to asana, you're progressing in such a way that all parts of the body are made intelligent and are awakened. And once those parts of the body are activated and unlocked, then the practitioner is able to move more towards the pose, more towards the completion of the pose, step by step. This happens by sequencing, but also happens by practicing such logical sequences over a period of time, many years or many decades. But the foundation remains that using logical sequences are important to unfold a practitioner towards constantly refining their practice. We will now see the third variation of Marutyasan 3 in the standing pose. This is called Uttita Marutyasan 3. In the traditional pose, as you know, one leg is kept straight and the other leg is bent. This will be followed in the Uttita variation as well. Here, we are using these props, which is a stool, a tall stool, as well as a curved block. This is called a quarter block because it is a quarter of an entire circle. So, you will have to keep one leg, that is the leg that is away from the pillar, on the curved stool, and the leg that is towards the pillar on the stool. Here, there must be no gap between the hip and the wall. So, there is the bent leg which is kept on the stool, there is the straight leg which is kept on a curved quarter block. Here, this leg resembles the Dandasana leg and that leg resembles the Maruchasan leg. The hip should not be thrown away from the wall. The hip should be kept close to the wall. Here the practitioner then raises the chest up and pulls the back ribs in. Rolling the shoulder back, you will have to have a profuse inclusion of the back ribs. When the leg goes up, it's pertinent to note that that buttock should not ascend up. The buttock should be kept low so that the spine is long, and then the leg should be placed on top. With that, the practitioner then goes through a twist where one hand goes around the pillar and grips it. The other hand is placed by the side of the chest, pushing against the wall. So there is a hand that goes around and that becomes the pulling hand, and there is a hand that pushes the pillar, which becomes the pushing hand. During this process, one must not remove the hip from the wall. The hip stays joint with the wall with a tight contact with the wall. Then grabbing the hand, pulling the hand around the pillar, one has to draw the back ribs in, and pushing the hand against the pillar, one has to complete the rotation of the spine, raising the chest up. Here, as you see, there is a freedom to the abdomen to completely rotate, hence the entire length of the spine, starting from the pelvis, dorsolumbar, dorsal and cervical, there is a full rotation of the spine, aided by the rotation of the thigh as well. Hence, from the leg to all parts of the body, there is total inclusion in the completion of the asana, which is therapeutically very beneficial as well. I would like to add that the usage of the quarter round is so done because it assists in the femur going into the socket, which gives the freedom of the spine to elevate and move upwards. So, the quarter block is used to give the spinal liberty, freedom, elevation to move. The stool is used to provide the necessary framework for Maruchasana 3. The pillar is used to aid in the rotation. Hence, every prop chosen here has a particular and necessary use which must be thought of while using props. It should never be the situation where props are used in any way whatsoever. Props have a genuine purpose, and that should be thought of. We now saw both the classical version as well as the prop assisted version of Maruchasana. I would like to invite your attention to Uttita Maruchasana. Uttita Maruchasana is a classical example of how a classical pose, that is the original pose, has been revolutionized by Sri B.K. Iyengar. The classical pose first may not be possible for everyone to practice. Secondly, the classical pose offers so many benefits that a practitioner may be deprived of the same if he couldn't practice it. Uttita Maruchasana is such a variation where this practice is opened up to all practitioners. Everybody is in a position to do Uttita Maruchasana or variations of Maruchasana, and people can heal greatly from the practice of Maruchasana as well. It not only makes the pose available to everybody, it also helps people benefit from the therapeutical aspects of the pose as well. Uttita Maruchasana, as you know, or Maruchasana itself, goes through a pronounced abdominal compression. This leads to a rejuvenation of the abdominal organs of the abdomen, liver, colon, spleen, intestines, the gallbladder. All of these are flushed with more blood and hence are rejuvenated. The kidney particularly is also greatly benefited. Apart from this, the Uttita Maruchasana variation offers a lot of freedom to the spine, where the spine rotates laterally. Spinal problems such as disc prolapse, herniation, spondylosis, these are conditions which can be healed quite well by the practice of Maruchasana. There is a word of caution for people who are undergoing bouts of diarrhea. Menstruating ladies, pregnant women should not practice Uttira Maruchyasan or Maruchyasan in itself. In the upcoming segment, we will see back bends. Until later, happy practicing.